Hi, Aaron Ukulele Loki here, and this is your neighbor speaking. My neighbors know I'm always running my mouth about politics, and for that reason, a lot of them have asked if I can help decode the 2018 Colorado ballot. It's a big one and an important one, so instead of typing the same recommendations over and over, I'm putting together a few quick videos, hopefully quick, with the meaning behind the amendments, the purposes behind the propositions, and a bit of candor about the candidates, at least as I see it. In this first video, I'll start out with two contentious ones that are surprisingly related, Amendment 74 and Proposition 112. After that, I'll briefly hit a couple that I think are easy no-brainers, Amendment A and Amendment 73. So grab your 6-page ballot and let's go over it. First, let's talk about two measures that are linked like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I'm talking about Proposition 112 and Amendment 74. So here's a short version. I'm voting yes on Proposition 112 because it protects our safety and the environment from dangerous fracking too close to homes by the oil industry. I'm voting no on Amendment 74 because it is a sneaky move by the oil industry to punish us for having the nerve to try and protect our safety and the environment. I'll explain. Amendment 74. I'm definitely going to vote no on it. Right out of the gate, 74 is an oil industry con job. Straight up. It asks, shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution requiring the government to award just compensation to private property when a governmental law or regulation reduces the fair market value of the property? Yesterday, one of my neighbors said, well, that sounds like a good thing. I mean, if the government messes up the value of our homes, they should pay us, right? Well, no. For starters, the government's not messing up the value of our homes. Colorado home values are skyrocketing. I think you've noticed. Second, this amendment is not about us or our homes, and I had to break it to my neighbor. We're not that special. Meaning we're not the targeted special interests this amendment was written to protect. 74 was written to invite the oil industry to sue all of us anytime we decide they need to be regulated. So if we vote to protect our safety, to protect the environment, and to even protect the value of our homes, by keeping wells and pads away, the oil industry can send us a bill for the money they claim they might have made through the process of harming us. Let me break down how this works in relation to Proposition 112. Let's say we pass Proposition 112, and I'm voting yes on 112 because a yes vote on 112 makes us all slightly safer from reckless fracking. You know, the fracking that has been linked to sinkholes, polluted water, and sick citizens around the country, as well as, an exploding house right here in Colorado. So let's say that we vote yes and pass 112. That would be a victory for we the people. It would mean we won a battle in standing up to the greedy oil industry who I sincerely believe puts safety last in favor of reckless profit. Don't think fracking is a threat or reckless? There have already been 116 fracking-related blasts and fire mishaps in Colorado, including the 2 people who were killed in Firestone from a gas leak in their homes from a nearby well. But there are other concerns, serious ones about the pollution of groundwater, the release of radium and trimethylbenzenes in the air. These have a health impact for all of us, but it's especially potent and dangerous for people within a half-mile of a well. Oil and gas has spent a ton of money on ads saying 112 will hurt our state. But how much will it hurt our state and cost jobs? Well, oil and gas workers only account for 1% of workers statewide. And while these workers' livelihoods are important, as industries change, there are changes in jobs. 112 does nothing to hurt the pads that are already in operation. Also, the oil and gas contribution to Colorado GDP is only 3 to 5%, and 112 won't even touch the current wells, so what's the big deal? 112 doesn't even completely shut down fracking, which many Coloradans want. Sideways drilling would still allow the oil industry to access underground reserves. All 112 demands is a stop to new well sites from popping up dangerously close to the homes and schools. That doesn't hurt our state, it protects it. And many would say it's barely a start. Well, the oil industry's fear that we might pass 112 is exactly why their hobgoblins crafted this sneaky Amendment 74. It's no coincidence. If 74 passes, the oil industry would be able to sue us any time we pass a proposition like 112 or any other regulation that puts our safety or the environment ahead of their profit. They act like this is good business, but that's not how business works. Businesses take risks. Big business shouldn't be able to call the shots or charge us for making them act responsibly. If your grandpa bought an asbestos mine in the 1950s, he took a risk. When we discovered that asbestos causes severe respiratory issues, including lung cancer, we banned its use in spray applications. That was in 1973. Your grandpa didn't get to sue the voters or the EPA because suddenly his mine wasn't as profitable. That's a business risk he took. If your grandpa had a good spirit, he might have said, "That's how the cookie crumbles." And if he had a very good heart, he might have been glad that his former product wasn't going to endanger any more families. But that's not how these oil industry guys play. They're playing dirty, and they're spending money to trick you with their ads. So don't get tricked, and don't help them play dirty. Let's pull the Scooby-Doo mask off these billionaires and watch them howl, "And we would have gotten away with it if it hadn't been for you blasted meddling voters." Again, I'm voting no on 74 and yes on 112. All right, now, before I go today, let's turn to a couple of the amendments. We'll start at the top of the alphabet with Amendment A. Shall there be an amendment to the Colorado Constitution that prohibits slavery and involuntary servitude as punishment for a crime, and thereby prohibits slavery and involuntary servitude in all circumstances? Or to make a short amendment shorter, should Colorado prohibit slavery? My answer is yes. How's this even a question? Did you even know that slavery was still legal according to the Constitution? Well, unless Colorado takes the lead and passes this amendment, it is. And that's wrong. Period. We fought a bloody civil war to end slavery, so yes, Colorado should prohibit slavery. That's an easy one. Republicans and Democrats, in a rare show of unity, have both supported this on the ballot. 100% of our state legislators and state senators want you to have an opportunity to end slavery. But if you know anyone who's part of the law and order crowd, you know, the type who love dreaming up cruel and unusual punishments for the thugs, you know, the ones they like to dehumanize, you've probably heard them end every debate with, "Well, then they shouldn't have broken the law." Well, you might point out to them that where there's a profit, there's a motive. And where there's a motive, justice is not being served. Because whether you believe correctional facilities should focus on punishment or rehabilitation, we should all agree that it gets really murky when those who hold the keys to the cell are also making money off of the prisoner locked inside. Finally, you don't have to dig very far to see who disproportionately ends up inside the cell and on the slavery end of the sentencing stick. And that's why this issue is one of the very big drops in the lake-sized bucket labeled America's Legacy of White Supremacy. We've got a lot of work to do together to drain that bucket. Get to work by voting yes on Amendment A. Colorado could be the first state to explicitly denounce slavery in all instances and end a loophole that has been exploited for Jim Crow oppression and for profiteering by the for-profit prison industry. Now, saving the easiest for last, let's talk about Amendment 73. This amendment, there's more, but we'll get to them in other videos. But for today, let's talk about it. This amendment would raise a few taxes on a narrowly defined group in a way that could have a very big benefit to our schools. So right there, that's enough for me to vote yes. But if you're hesitant to raise taxes, let me put this in perspective. It's not going to raise your taxes, unless you're among the richest 8% of Coloradans, and if you are, congratulations. And well, thank you for your yes vote on 73. You can certainly afford it. So please support it. Now, you're probably not among the richest 8% of Coloradans, and I'm also not. So it's certainly not going to hurt you or I. And it's supposed to help our schools. As a former teacher for Denver Public Schools, I can tell you it's desperately needed. Colorado supposedly has this booming economy, and yet we're ranked 40th in per pupil funding and 50th in teacher wages. If you can count the stars on the flag, one for each state, there's 50. That puts Colorado dead last. That's horse pucky. Colorado, we can do better. So I'm voting yes on 73. Well, that's it for today. I've got to get back to building dementors and ghosts for my garden so I can add some fun for my neighbors this Halloween, but I'll be back with more videos exploring the 2018 Colorado ballot soon. If you care to keep up with my posts, please like and subscribe to my page, Your Neighbor Speaking, on Facebook and YouTube, and feel free to share. I also welcome your thoughts and comments, and I'll try to respond. Until next time, I'm Aaron, and this is Your Neighbor Speaking.